Hey there, welcome back to Pokémon Explained, the series where each and every episode has a random opening, followed up by some useful Pokémon trivia. Today's topic is abilities. When it comes to abilities, it's quite easy to understand. No fancy numbers and crazy mechanics, and really, in comparison to the rest I've covered so far, it's kind of straightforward. At the same time though, to remember the different abilities and utilizing them effectively can be very challenging. All Pokémon have an ability. Some does also have access to something called a hidden ability, which is nothing more than a fancy new name. The only real difference is that they tend to be a bit harder to obtain, and they do also have their own mechanic in breeding. Level, BST, IVs, EVs, and nature all directly influence the stats of a Pokémon. Abilities, on the other hand, may help with this, but as a general thing, you can look at a Pokémon's ability as a seasoning, giving the Pokémon the final touch to make it stand out. Abilities can do all sorts of things, and there are many of them. There is no way I would have enough time to go over all of them in detail in this video, so I thought I'd like to go over some of the most used abilities to give you sort of an introduction to how they work. Abilities like Drought, Sandstream, Snow Warning and Drizzle all modify the weather when a Pokémon is sent out on the battlefield. The weather typically lasts for 5 turns unless it's holding either a damp rock, a heat rock, or an icy rock, etc., which will then increase it to 8 turns. Desolate Land and Primordial Sea are also abilities that affect the weather, but these are activated only and as long as the Pokémon with the ability is on the field. Other abilities related to weather can be Swift Swim and Chlorophyll, which both doubles the Pokémon's speed in their respective weather. There is also abilities which cancels out the effect of the weather, such as Cloud9 and Earlock. A final thing to mention when it comes to abilities and weather is that some moves and abilities work well together in certain weather conditions, but we'll get back to that. Another main group of abilities, if you can put it that way, may change the way moves work. Serene Grace, one of my personal favorites, doubles the chance of a move's secondary effect to happen. This means that if say you have a Pokémon using Air Slash, which does damage, but that also has a 30% chance to flinch the opponent, Serene Grace will make it to where there's a 60% chance to flinch the opponent instead. There are also abilities that can protect a Pokémon from a certain type of attacks, and/or get a boost when hit by such a move. Examples of this can be Flash Fire, Water Absorb, and Levitate. Similar abilities that protect a Pokémon from a certain group of moves can be Bulletproof and Soundproof. Some abilities can increase the damage of a normal type move by 30% and change its typing. Examples of these types of abilities are Pixelate and Aerialate. In addition to all of these, you have, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, abilities that change a Pokémon's actual stat, such as Huge Power and Pure Power, which are essentially the same, which will double the Pokémon's attack stat when used in battle. Fur Coat, on the other hand, has a similar effect, but it will reduce damage taken from physical moves by 50%. You also have interesting abilities like Prankster, which gives priority to status moves. Another ability that has a neat effect is Shadow Tag, which prevents opposing Pokémon from switching out, unless they're Ghost types, or have the moves U-Turn and Volt Switch, etc. There are just so many amazing abilities that really make the Pokémon act in a whole other way. Obviously, I can't go over each and every ability in this video as mentioned. I recommend you to have a look though at Bulbapedia and read about some of these and perhaps even consider using some of them on your team. Abilities I recommend having a look at in addition to the ones mentioned here are Technician, Sheer Force, Storm Drain, Lightning Rod, Speed Boost, Skill Link, Mold Breaker, Moxie, Moody, Multiscale, No Guard, Rough Skin, Gale Wings, Defiant, Contrary, Unburden, and Adaptability. That is a huge list, but I promise you that you will either love these or fear and hate them. When it comes to a Pokémon's ability, they can in some cases be changed. If you have a Pokémon like Togekiss, which has 2 regular abilities and 1 hidden ability, you can, by using the item called Ability Capsule, change its ability. However, you cannot change a Pokémon's regular ability into its hidden ability by using this item. So in this case, it would have to either be from Hustle to Serene Grace, or from Serene Grace to Hustle, though I wouldn't recommend the last option. As I opened the video with, abilities aren't really that hard to understand, but understanding how to use them effectively can be quite challenging. This has to do with the fact that there are many of them, but also because you can only have so many on a team, right? Some abilities may even be so important on your team that they are what keeps it all together. Typically you will see this with weather teams, etc. because what would a rain team be good for if it don't have a way to put up rain? Therefore, I thought I'd like to go over some combos as well that you can utilize on your team, or to just learn about them so that you can be better prepared for these challenges. A normal combo that is pretty fun to use can be by using two Pokémon in a double battle, where one of the Pokémon brings out the weather and the other one has an ability that makes use of having the weather on the field. A combo like this can be Sandstream and Sandrush, Drizzle and Swift Swim, and Drought and Chlorophyll. Other combos may utilize a certain ability by having one of your Pokémon to use a multi-target move that hits your opponent as well as your own to power it up. An example to this can be a Raichu and Mega Sceptile combo, where Raichu can use Discharge, which will hit all Pokémon on the field, Sceptile included. Because Mega Sceptile has the ability Lightning Rod, it won't lose any HP by the discharge, as well as getting a boost in its special attack. Scary, in other words. A final type of combo that's pretty cool to use can be to utilize multi-target moves, like Discharge and Earthquake, together with type immunities. If you have a flying type Pokémon or one with the Levitate ability, you can combine this with a Pokémon using Earthquake. Zapdos and Garchomp is a fun one where none of them will hit each other, even though they should've, if it had not been for the types and abilities that come into effect. I think I'll have to stop here and consider doing an in-depth follow-up video to this one where I'll go through all known abilities in detail. This video was more of an introduction to Pokémon abilities more than anything, and I guess as a continuation on how a Pokémon's stats work and how they're influenced by abilities. What you need to take out of this video is all Pokémon have an ability that has some sort of effect on how the Pokémon performs. This can either be to set up a certain weather condition or to boost its stats in some way or another. And you can utilize multiple abilities and moves to make combos to use on your team. That was it for this episode. I hope you learned something new and would like to check out the other episodes on screen right now. If you're new to the channel, why not subscribe and join our community? It will be interesting to see if my ability to present all this was good enough to convince you to join us. With that said, I'll see you again sometime, and until then, be your very best.